The Grand Prix was invented in Paris over 100 years ago, and the FIA, the governing body of a lot of world motorsports, including Formula 1, is also based in Paris. On top of that, we have Alpine, who are a French team, and several French drivers currently in the field, such as Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly. Going further back too, there was a world champion, a 4-time world champion, and some say the best champion ever, Alain Prost, who competed in the 1980s and 1990s. But despite all of that, France has no Grand Prix on the calendar and hasn't had one for a number of years. In truth, it's had a real troubled place on the Formula 1 calendar, even when it has been on the calendar. Magny-Cours and Paul Ricard both have many problems, and there aren't many other options really when it comes to a Grade 1 circuit. Unless they make a new one, perhaps. And this might be what Flavio Briatore is suggesting. Now, of course, Flavio is one of the senior advisors for Renault and also Alpine as well. He basically runs Alpine. He's not the team principal, but we all know who calls the shots, and it's definitely not Oliver Oak. Greatest respect to the guy, that's just a fact. But let's have a look at what he said here. Now, you guys know that I'm not a big fan of Flavio, to say the least, but on his day, on occasion, even a broken clock is right twice a day. So let's have a look at what Flavio said about a potential French return for Formula 1. Full article on the F1Chronicle.com. Formula 1 should return to France with a race in the capital city. That is the view of Alpine's flamboyant and famous advisor Flavio Briatore, just days after FIA President Mohamed Ben Sulayem ruled France as absent from the calendar since 2022. It's good to open up new countries, but we mustn't forget where the story began, he told Le Figaro. When asked about that, Briatore fully agreed with the controversial FIA president, even though he doesn't think F1 should simply return to Paul Ricard. Not at Le Castellet, which is Paul Ricard, and not at Magny-Cours either, where there is nothing, said the Italian. In Paris. Castellet was impossible for traffic. No, Formula 1 deserves a Grand Prix. Yeah, because Paris traffic is famously quiet, Briatore added. Not necessarily in the city centre or under the Eiffel Tower, but Paris would be magnificent. There must be all the hotel capacity to accommodate everyone that F1 attracts, the sponsors, the people who work for Formula 1. Everyone wants a Grand Prix in France. Formula 1 is really missing from France. Last year, F1 CEO Stefano Domenicali said he is understanding that the French government wants to focus on the Olympics Games rather than Formula 1. Maybe after that they will have a little more time for us to come back together on this issue, he told L'Equipe mid last year. Now, of course, the Summer Olympic Games have concluded in Paris. They were mixed, to say the least. I'm not going to get into that, of course. That's the whole can of worms. Let's focus on Formula 1. Yeah, I mean, realistically, I must admit, realistically, to get Formula 1 back onto the calendar in France, it has to really be a new track. Magny-Cours is in the middle of nowhere. It's a decent circuit. It's not the best. It's very difficult to overtake. I would prefer going there to Paul Ricard. Paul Ricard, whenever I used to watch that, used to give me a migraine. The place is an absolute eyesore, to say the least. And again, relatively, I think it's in the middle of nowhere too. And that's not that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's in the middle of nowhere. But Spa is Spa. Spa's an incredible circuit. Paul Ricard isn't. It's just all right. It's a great testing track. It's not a great racing circuit. So I think, to be honest, I actually kind of agree with Flavio, to be honest. I think that if they're going to go back to France, they need to make a new track. But it's all about whether the French government wants to, invest in that, or other investors want to make that. I mean, we're seeing the trouble that Madrid is having right now. There's big rumours about that not coming onto the calendar to be the Spanish Grand Prix in 2026. No smoke without fire. So there's definitely trouble on that front. And yeah, it'd be great, because I'm sure the Grand Prix was first run in Paris. I know it was run in France, at least, back in 1906, I want to say. So, there is a history there, and like I said, there is a present too in a future. Even though there's no Renault engines in Formula 1, there's still going to be a French team, and presumably still some French drivers, Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon, of course, too. So, and Isaac Hadjar, for that matter, as well, of course. So yeah, I mean, for me, I'd love to see France back on the calendar, but it has to be at the right place. I don't want to go back to Paul Ricard. I could maybe live with Magny-Cours from a TV point of view, but from a fan experience point of view, I can't see that ever hosting a Grand Prix. It just wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work. And it's very difficult to overtake around there. And even with the new cars next year, it might still be very difficult to overtake as well. It didn't produce the best races on the whole when it was in F1 back in the day. So yeah, what do you guys think? Would you like to see Formula 1 return to France? And if so, where? Would you want to see it at a new purpose-built track or somewhere else? Hey, Le Mans, why not? many reasons why not. I'm just joking. But yeah, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And of course, keep it tuned here to the F1Chronicle.com if you want to see much more F1 news and opinion pieces just like this. Like, share, comment, subscribe as always. And if you want to support some more, head over to Patreon and become a patron. Become a legend, an F1. If you do go and subscribe over there, get some exclusive member benefits as well if you go for one of the paid platforms. Same with Substack as well. Go and support us on there. The biggest newsletter in Formula 1, focusing on Formula 1 at least, on Substack in the world, I do believe. If someone can correct me on that, please do. But the stats that I saw look pretty damning in that regard. So yeah, have a great week, guys. Have a great day. See you very soon.